I've been running around like crazy. I have to work tomorrow as well. So we'll try to keep this short for today. I have to get back early. Last time I thought I'll get back early. I was here till 11:30 and I totally lost track of time. So can I get some water if you don't mind? Okay, so when we talk of systems of knowledge, the best way to, I guess, introduce the topic is to express that I spent my career in marketing and marketing research, and we would spend a lot of time in what we call research design. So for example, if I want to know what are young people's ages 18 to 25 or 18 to 28, whatever, their views on preferences for beverages, to go about finding such sample of persons, we would create a research design, right? We would create by, first we would start with incidences. Incidence would mean how easy is it to find people 18 to 28 in this whatever area, right? And how many do we find such they would be willing to give an answer? How many should we find that are actually drink a kind of beverage? And if it's a carbonated beverage, they should be drinking at least one carbonated beverage once a month, right? Whatever. Then you design your research, right? So in those cases, it makes sense. But not everything in life works on research design. Okay. For example, if I want to know who my father is, correct? I can create a research design. So here's how the research design will look like. I want to know who my father is. So I take any male, at least 17, 18 years older than I am. Who knows? Could be 16, but I don't know. At least 18 years older than I am, right? As a potential, as my father, correct? So all males on this planet Earth who are 18 years or older than I am is a potentially my father. One of them is. Fair enough? Correct? Do you agree? Then I will say, looking at me, the way I am and all that, very likely that it is a South Asian. But it's not necessary. Like I have friends, Yashodanandan and Shyamasakhi. Their Shyamasakhi is from Indian origin, Yashodanandan is Caucasian, their daughter looks very Caucasian. So to connect their daughter to the mother is very difficult. So I don't know, my father could be white, a white man, or Italian or Spanish or Hispanic, or who knows, but assuming, okay? So I have to find all Indian males 18 years or older than I am, all right? Now where will I find them? They could be anywhere on the planet. What if he's fishing in Alaska? Who knows? So I have to find such persons, right? Then let's say I find them, okay? Then they have to be DNA test, correct? Now for me to find a male of that age, all right, or that band of age, two things I need to have. And what are they? First, name. Oh, if I know the name, I already know the answer. What do I need to be able to find men at least 18 years older than I am? I need unlimited money to be able to travel to find these people. Correct? Does anyone have unlimited money? If you know, please give me the address. I'd love to talk to them. Okay. Or I have to have, suppose I have money. Someone says doesn't matter. Money is not an issue. What's the other thing that I should have? Time. Thank you. Right? I should have the time to be able to search through all over planet Earth to find that person. Someone will say, fine, you have all the money, you have all the time. Is there still a problem? Is it possible that I may not find that person?
Yeah.
Okay, why?
That person might die.
That person may have been dead. Excellent. Possible. He was 18, may have died at 19, may have died at 50. By the time I search through all the men, who knows, right? They may have been dead and gone, so I can never find. What's the other issue?
The DNA test.
Huh?
The test.
Okay, so if I do DNA test, right?
Possibility.
Are all DNA tests 100% accurate? No, they're about 95% or 96% accurate in general. So much to find who my father is, and after all of that, I may not be right. Correct? What's an easy way?
One ask one.
What's an easy way? No time spent, no money spent, and very likely quite accurate.
Ask mother.
What do you think? What's the best way? Go and ask who?
Your mother.
Mother, exactly. In a rare case, the mother may say, I don't know. Very rare. There are some cases like, but otherwise, most cases, they know. Correct? So the first method of creating the research design and finding out may yield a result, right? But it is very expensive. It requires unlimited time. And when I say may, it means very likely may not yield a result. Correct? So this kind of system in Sanskrit is called Aroha Pantha, the path of ascension, ascending path. Going and asking the mother who knows the answer already is called the descending method. Okay? In some cases, in our day-to-day life, some ascending method may be okay. But to know answers about things that are beyond one's scope of mind and intelligence, ascending method doesn't work at all. Okay? So you need a descending system. We'll come to that. First, let's deal with ascending system first. So in an ascending system, which we all get into some research, we have a PhD person here. You know what PhD means, right? Pearl, what does PhD mean? Come on. You're the best to answer this one. Okay. Karthik, what is PhD?
Permanent head damage.
Permanent head damage. Thank you. Anyway, that's just a joke. So you have to create, you have to do your research, find your data, blah blah, and it makes us happy that, oh, I found something, which is nice. However, we don't live in that system all the time. If that is the case, none of us should be in IIT, right? We should say, why come to Chicago? Why go to the university? I'll just do my research, whatever research I want to do, right? After all, I'm here for knowledge, right? No one's here for knowledge, we're here for jobs. But anyway, I'm here for knowledge. I've did my research. No, but we are all going to class, right? Someone told us, you have to write A like this. Did we say, why like this? Why like this? Why should I write A like this? I will create my own system of language by which I'll communicate with others. I said, no, you want to learn English? This is how English is, A. None of us question, no? Why are you saying A should be like this? Can I decide A should be something else? No. Right? That is the standard system of knowledge, language. These are the letters. Whoever designed or created the language, this is how it is. And we learn. And we learn by writing the same letter again and again and again. That became A, then B, and then we learned words, and then we learned sentences and grammar and all of that. But someone taught us, right? When we went to school, someone said, a complex sentence is like this, a compound sentence is like this, a simple sentence is like this. We learned it. Someone told us, we followed. We didn't do our own research. No need to tell me. I will decide what is complex. If I come to the same conclusion, then the teacher is correct. Otherwise, we don't want this teacher. So this is for day-to-day life. Now, there are other questions, okay, which even the greatest learned persons don't know how to answer. For example, how does creation happen? How does this everything come about? So we come up with theories. There was a bang and blah blah, there's a big bang, and it sounds wonderful. But Big Bang theory, for example, has many flaws. Okay, but how is it possible? How is it that everything is so well structured, right? You can predict today, sitting here, you can today predict 74 years later what time the sun will rise, right? And there are people who can do it, because if you know astronomy, so why is there such perfect order? Another question of who are we? People say we are the soul. Who has seen the soul? Where does it come from? Where does it go? How do we know all this? Is there life after death? Why is there suffering in this world? Some questions research cannot help, because the answers to these questions lie outside the boundary of our mind and intelligence. There are some things that lie supposedly within our boundary of mind and intelligence, but we still don't have answers. For example, when I put food into my stomach, like through my mouth, I don't know. Nobody today can tell exactly what happens by which the food breaks down, is converted to energy. We have a general idea, but exactly how it happens, okay, till date there is nobody who has seen an atom. You cannot see an atom. You know the presence of an atom by certain characteristics, that if I have some electrons separated, then it has some characteristic. Oh, okay, if it is this kind of proton or molecule, it has this characteristics. By characteristics you assume and you come to some deduction, right? So in the ascending system of knowledge, we rely on what are called two methods. First method is called perception, direct perception. You want Sanskrit words and make it even more, you can go out and use these words and everyone like, wow, Sanskrit words. It's called pratyaksha. Pratyaksha means something that you can see. Like they say, seeing is believing, right? Now, is that true? Is it true that everything you see you can believe? Not necessary. You watch a movie, they blow up the White House. No one blew up the White House, but it looks real, right? Or you see any of the Justice League or whatever, I know all these terms from my son, movies that have such good effects, they look real, but they're not real. Even the movie stars are not standing in the real environment. It's all what's called green screened or something, right? So first is direct perception. Now direct perception is not wrong, it's not complete. So like we were talking last week, in our Vedic system, small but powerful truths were conveyed through stories. And the famous stories of the 5 blind men, okay, they were blind and they came across a very interesting being. They didn't know what it is called. One person touched it and said, oh, it feels like a pillar, so this creature must be a pillar. There another person was touching the creature and said, I'm not sure about pillar, it feels more like a hose. Some other person was touching and said, I don't know how you get the sense it's a hose, it's more like a rope. Like that. They were all having different perceptions. They were touching an elephant. So in one place It feels like a pillar. In one place it's like a hose, in another place it's like a rope. Only a person who had the eyes said, well, none of you is wrong, but none of you is completely right either. Right? So you have very limited perception of the world around us. Even small things. Limited perception. I don't know what's on the other side of this wall. I cannot see. Even in this room, if all lights are turned off, I can't see my own hand. So my senses by which we get information is limited. So it is said that we have 5 senses. Okay? Our eyes, our ears, nose, tongue and skin. We get information about the world around us through these 5 senses. But we don't get complete information because our eyes cannot see spectrum of light beyond the ultraviolet and infrared. We cannot see. We cannot hear sounds as human beings below 20 and above 20,000. But other beings can. Dogs can, whales can, all. We cannot hear. It doesn't mean sound does not exist. It just means that we don't. If I say, if I can't hear it, it should not exist. Is it true? No, that's foolish. Right? So like this, our senses are then limited. Actually in the Vedas they say that each of these senses is limited and therefore puts a person in danger. The story that's, or the anecdotal thing that's narrated, not anecdote, the example that's narrated is, first of all, the tongue. The tongue always wants to taste something tasty. So a fish is captured by a worm, a bait it's called, because the fish wants to eat it. So when something is put in water with a hook and you put a worm, does the fish see the hook? It only sees the worm, although the worm is with the hook. But the urge to taste it is so strong that goes shh and opens its mouth and grabs the worm. But as soon as it grabs the worm, the hook goes right through its palate. So that's the power of the tongue for the fish. The ears. It is said the hunters, they would capture deer by whistling or playing music. Because if you've seen deer while they are eating grass, if you make a noise or music or some flute or some, they perk their ears like this. And they will hone in. And if the sound is continuous and sweet, the deer just stands like that. And any animal standing still is perfect target. If the deer is running, it's very difficult because they run fast. But the way to make them stand still is that by that music. That's how they would capture. Even now, in modern times, when people go to Wisconsin and other places and hunt, they can't hunt a deer until they whistle. And the deer stands up like that, waiting for that noise. So the ears like that. Then it says the eyes. You've seen a moth flies right into fire when it sees light or fire. It's very attracting. It cannot stop itself. It flies right into the fire. Okay. Or the smell. For a bee, the smell of the honey from the flower is so strong that it flies and sits on the flower to suck the honey from the lotus, for example. And at night, that lotus closes and the bee gets trapped inside and suffocates and dies. But cannot run away because the smell of that honey is very attracting. Or the skin. You know how they capture elephants? Especially male elephants, which are very, very strong. They leave a female elephant out like that. And this female elephant goes to the male elephant and rubs her skin to his skin. And it's called a pachyderm. Pachyderm means very thick skin, right? Generally, if you see on buffaloes or rhinos and elephants. Other birds are sitting and traveling, and the elephant can't even tell that there is something sitting there. But the rub of a female elephant maddens the elephant like anything, that he follows her wherever she goes. And they train the she elephant to lead him into a ditch. And that's it, because the sense, that rubbing is so attracting for that elephant. He cannot stop, he has to have more of that contact. Now each of this is for one particular animal, but when it comes to human being, all 5 senses are very, very active. Not only are they limited, they are very, very agitated. So direct perception of knowledge is good but not complete. So then you have to rely on something else, right? We rely on the next level of knowledge. It's called Anuman. Anuman means deduction. You look at an effect and you try to understand the cause. Suppose there is smoke somewhere. You will deduce that there must be fire, because without fire there cannot be smoke. Although you cannot see the fire. If you see smoke somewhere, you will say there must be fire somewhere, because that's the effect. I understand the cause. You see a woman who's pregnant. You don't have to see how it happened, but it's obvious, right? There's a cause. So that is another way of compensating for limited senses. However, these two, Pratyaksha and Anuman, together also cannot cross the boundary of one's mind and intelligence. Cannot. So what do people do when they are faced with experiences or information outside of their ability to conceive in the mind or rationalize by intelligence? They do one of two things. They put it into a category called mythology. It doesn't exist. Or another way of putting it into that existence is, it doesn't make sense. Therefore, mythology. For example, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that, pick anything. Let's say Ramachandra constructed a bridge across the ocean. Doesn't make sense. And that too by floating rock. Come on, mythology, right? Why? Because it is outside our realm of reasoning. And immediately if NASA shows you a satellite picture, oh yeah, that must be true. Yeah. Why? Because now you're relying on if I see it, it must be true. Because if I can't see it, then come on, mythology sounds wonderful. Nice stories. You see how it works? So there are things, there are factors outside of our. Now for example, nobody has seen an atom, like I said earlier, right? We don't call atom mythology, because we have applications with atoms. We have atomic energy. So we say, it's there, no, it's working, must be there. You ask someone, have you seen, ask the nuclear physicist, have you seen the atom? No. But you know it exists? Yes. How? Because here's how atomic energy is working, right? So then you ask a spiritualist, does the soul exist? Yes. Have you seen? They might even say yes. But the question is, how do we know? So we have to rely on certain experience though. But that experience needs to be told. Suppose we have assume, since we are talking research, right? Assume you had never tasted sugar in your life ever. Never. And the first time in your life you taste sugar and it feels sweet. Okay? You don't even know what it's called, right? So you don't know what sweetness means. So you eat and someone says, how does it taste? You say, something, it is very attracting, it is, you'll describe it. And they'll say that is sugar and it's called sweetness. Oh. Suppose no one ate ever sugar, how would you know? And no one told you. This is how it tastes. Would you know? No. Similarly, because Pratyaksha and Anuman are good but not good enough for subjects and knowledge outside our mind and intelligence capacity, you have to rely on a third system. And that third system is called descending. In Sanskrit it's called Shabda. Someone has to tell you, this is it. So in the first system, remember the research designed to find my father, I have to figure it out in different ways without being sure that I'll be right. The other is just ask my mother. As simple. I save time, I save money, I save a bunch of headache and embarrassment of calling someone daddy who may not be. Just ask the mother. Shabda has lot of wonderful applications, right? We have all learned physics, we've learned engineering. We could have learned it without going to school. True? Maybe, may not be. Because without someone teaching us, to say that I'm learning engineering doesn't make sense because we have no idea. Someone has to teach us. So when knowledge comes from this source to this source, it's called descending. So that is the Vedic method. Okay? So now in Vedic method, for example, here's another example. Almost 5,000 years ago, we were told, or at least the Vedas say, the distance between the earth and the moon is blah. Okay? Today we have very expensive Hubble telescope and all the gadgets, and the answer they're getting is, yeah, that's the right answer. Alright? For example, there are so many other things. In the Vedas, without any ultrasound technology, there is a description of how the embryo develops from the 2 hours after conception, when the sperm goes into and fertilizes the egg. 8 hours, 8 days, 12 weeks, 20 weeks, 24, 30 weeks, all the way to 40 weeks of gestation. It describes in detail how the embryo develops. And this is knowledge that's, I'll say 5,000, maybe millions of years old. Today we have the same technology, ultrasound, and we get the same information. And none of these persons were university educated, but they were educated differently. So this is descending system of knowledge. Information is already there. So there is something beyond our ability which we need to learn. However, how we learn is important. And I'm going to tell you how not to learn. Alright? There was a guru or a teacher, and he had many followers. And not all of them were very intelligent. So he was worried. If I die, then all my disciples, how will they succeed in life? So let me take them to some retreat place and give them very strong instructions to help them in life. So he announced, tomorrow we are going to go on a retreat. So pack everything nicely and we'll leave in the morning. Yes, Gurudev. And they didn't have a car, they had a donkey on which the guru was going to travel, and all the students were going to walk behind him. So he said, these guys are not very intelligent. So he said, let's keep walking. And he told them, please don't get distracted, don't look left, don't look right, just keep walking. Don't worry, whatever happens, just stay on course. Okay. As they were walking, the road was a little rough and the guru's lunchbox fell down. But but they all kept walking. The Guru didn't realize, they kept walking. So about an hour and a half later, they said, let's take a break, we'll eat something. So where's my lunchbox? So they said, oh, it fell down an hour and a half ago. Why didn't you pick it up? He said, you said no, don't look here, don't look there, don't, just stay focused. So he was focused. So Guru said, my gosh, these people are too like this. So he said, okay. From here on, because he was also riding on the donkey, if he fell. So he said, from anything that falls from the donkey, please pick it up. Yes, Gurudev. Very good. So they were walking. You know what happened? You're all looking down again. So as they were walking, the donkey started dropping some huge lumps of dung. So all the devils started picking it up. So as they were walking, the Guru had some smell. It's like, what is this? And he turns back, and the disciples are all holding donkey dung in their hand. I said, what is this? He said, you said no, anything falls from the donkey, pick it up. He said, come on, use some thoda akkal, use karo, intelligent, what is this? No. Anything that falls from the donkey, please don't pick up. Okay. They kept walking further. This time the Guru fell from the donkey. But they kept walking. He said, hey, pick me up. He said, please make up your mind. Sometimes you say this, sometimes you say that. Why can't you just tell us something so simple and straightforward? So this is called blind following. Okay. Blind following means someone said something and we accepted it without questioning or asking or trying to understand. I'll tell you another story of blind following. And we'll know, actually in our lives, we also live like that, or maybe lived like that in the past. There was a washerman who had a donkey that served him for many years. And now the donkey had become old. Every day he would carry loads of cloth from one side of the village to the place where they would wash. Then he would put all the wet cloth on him. The donkey would probably go back. For many years served him very loyally. Actually the donkey aged and died. Now the donkey, after a whole day's of work, in the night would loudly bray. Okay. But for the owner, it sounded like a great song. So he named his donkey Sunanda Gandharva. Gandharvas are those persons who sing very beautifully. So he called his donkey Sunanda Gandharva and treated him almost like a human being. So when Sunanda Gandharva died, the washerman felt very sad. So like they do in India, they shave their head and perform last rites. So the washerman shaved his head and performed the last rites for Sunanda Gandharva and was coming back to his house crying and thinking about the donkey in mourning. So he met the royal cook, the cook for the king. He met him on the street. So he said, hey, how are you? Why are you crying? He said, what can I tell you? Today Sunanda Gandharva died. So the cook said, oh, really? Immediately went and he also shaved his head. And he went to the kitchen to cook for the king. So there, the personal servant of the king who comes to make the plate for the king saw the cook and said, why is your head shaved like this? So he said, oh, it's a very sad day. Today Sunanda Gandharva died. So the servant said, oh, thank you for letting me know. So he also went and shaved his head. So he came to serve the plate to the king. The king saw him and said, you look very different. Why did you shave your head? He said, oh, didn't you know, my lord, today Sunanda Gandharva died. The king said, oh, thank you for letting me know. Call the royal barber, okay, to shave my head today. So when the barber was coming and sharpening his blade, the queen walked by. And she said to the king, what are you doing? He said, I'm shaving my head. Why? Because Sunanda Gandharva died. The queen, who had some intelligence, asked a very simple question. who is Sunanda Gandharva? And the king said, oh, I don't know. My servant said Sunanda Gandharva died. I thought it was someone very special and important. He called him, hey, who's Sunanda Gandharva? And the servant said, I don't know. I saw the cook. And because he had his head shaved, so he called the cook. Cook said, I don't know. I asked the washerman. So they called the washerman, and the washerman said, it's my donkey. So the queen started laughing loudly. So it describes that many of us follow certain rituals in life, especially prayers and puja, whatever rituals we follow without ever questioning why we're doing what we're doing. We do it because parents did, or my friends did, or my grandmother did, or this is how we've been doing, but no one asked, where did it come from? Is it in the Vedas? Is it how did you know? Did someone make it up? We don't know. This is how we've been doing in our family for 200 years. Or what about 300 years ago? Oh, I don't know. Did you ever find out? No. So this is Sunanda Gandharva mentality. So it's important to ask why, where does this come from, where does it say in the Vedas, especially the Bhagavad Gita, because it has everything. So without asking, right, we don't allow, when you ask or when we ask questions or ask to seek, it is said that the knowledge that is in the higher realm or descending comes into our field of experience. So it's, on one hand, we put everything into mythology or some fable story category, but on the other hand, without inquiry, it doesn't descend. So in the Vedic aphorisms, the first sentence is always called Athato Brahma Jigyasa. Atha means therefore. You never start a sentence with therefore. But the Vedas start, it's called Vedanta Sutras. Veda Anta Sutra, called Vedanta. Veda Anta. Anta means the end or the limit. So Vedanta means the limit of the Vedas, which means you know everything. Vedanta, and Sutra means very special aphorisms, simple sentences by which you can understand. So our teacher Prabhupada would say, when two lawyers are speaking, right, they will say, according to Indian Penal Code, IPC 304. Now, none of us may know what 304 is, but by saying 304, everyone else understands, right? So like that, there are sutras. So the first sutra is therefore. Right? How do you start something with therefore? You usually end something with therefore, but it says therefore. Okay, so it described, the word therefore means because now you are born as a human, therefore, because animals cannot understand Sanskrit, they can't understand any other language either, but therefore, atha, now, Brahma Jigyasa, one should inquire into the spiritual aspect of things. Brahma means spiritual. As a human being, first thing to do is to inquire into spiritual subject matter. That's what the Vedic aphorism says. Athatu Brahma Jigyasa. Jigyasa is to ask or to inquire. And one who inquires, then that knowledge starts to descend. That means you find the right teacher. There are many teachers. You change the teacher word a little bit, it becomes cheater. So there's not that difference between a teacher and cheater unless you can identify one from the other. So find the right teacher and ask the right questions for why a human being is there, because human capacity is very, very strong, very high. It's not just limited to physics and science and medicine and aeronautics. That's wonderful, but that's very tiny. That's very small in terms of knowledge capacity, what the human potential is. The human potential is to be able to understand and grasp and experience something far beyond matter. Because anything, say physics, chemistry, biology, engineering, all is within the field of matter. Right? There is nothing outside of matter. Then there is something called meta or spiritual. Human beings can understand and live that. So don't sell yourself short, is what the Vedas say. First thing, don't go for something simple. If you have a great capacity, if you want to shoot for the stars, as they say, shoot for the stars, then shoot for the real thing. Don't limit yourself with just mundane stuff. But you cannot do it without a descending system of knowledge. Because on ascending, one cannot come to that conclusion on one's own, because it lies beyond. And so there is a famous Upanishad by the name Mandukya Upanishad. You know what Mandukya means in Sanskrit? It means a frog. Frog. So the whole Upanishad is called Frog Upanishad. So the question is why? Why is it called Mandukya? The theory that's the postulate that's described in that Upanishad is that there was a frog that used to live in a well. And for that frog, because it was born in that well, his whole life experience was within that well. Okay, that well was, let's say, 5 feet in diameter and 50 feet deep. And the frog every day would discover new aspects about the well. Okay? And it was never ending, because there's so much to discover for him. One day, another frog jumped into the well. So this frog said, "Oh, welcome, who are you?" So he said, "My name is such and such frog." "Oh, where are you from?" He said, "I'm from the Pacific Ocean." So this frog asked, "Pacific Ocean? How big is the well? How big is from where you are?" So he said, "Very big." "As big as this?" Because for him, this well that is 5 meters or whatever diameter and 20 feet deep was unlimited. He had no capacity to find out how deep and how big this well is. So when he said, "Oh, Pacific Ocean, it's a very big well," he asked, "How big? Bigger than this?" "Oh yeah, very big." "How much bigger? 10 times bigger than this?" "Yeah, actually much bigger than that." "What, 100 times bigger? Come on, how can there be 100 times more water than this well? Are you joking?" "No, not 100 times bigger." "How much?" "Maybe 100,000 times bigger, who knows." "What? 100,000 times bigger? Are you crazy? Such water never exists anywhere. You're lying." No, actually it's not 100,000 times bigger. It's probably 1,000,000 times bigger." "Oh, come on, impossible." So Mandukya Upanishad describes, the frog asks, "Is your well this big?" "No, bigger." "This big?" "No, bigger." "This big?" "No." And so he has to breathe so hard that his stomach bursts and he dies. Why? Because this frog in this well is limited by his world. That there is something existing outside of his world, he cannot understand. You get the idea? So in one sense, it's called Mandukya because we are also Mandukya. We are also tiny frogs that are limited by our world. Okay? And in our world, there are only certain possibilities. After that, we're like, come on. Why? Because our ascending systems of knowledge cannot reach the limits of what's there. What to speak of something outside of that. So, especially for spiritual subject matters, which are important. Why? Not because it gives us peace of mind. Generally people say, "I like to be a spiritualist because it gives me peace of mind." We don't care if you have peace of mind or not. But the reason why spiritual matters or spiritual topics are important is because that's who we are. We are spiritual beings sitting inside material bodies. Right? Just as if you wear the dress of a soldier, okay, or a policeman or a policewoman, you are someone inside the dress. It's not that that's what you are. When you go home, you knock on the door, and if your wife or husband says, "Who's there?" say, "Open the door." That's not how you behave. Correct? I hope not, right? Even at home, if your wife or husband is arguing with you, you'll say, "Turn around. You have the right to remain silent. Put your hands behind your back." You don't speak like that. Or if no one's in the house, with your flashlight and gun, you say, "Anyone in the..." Imagine a policeman, if you're like that, you get a surprise birthday party. No one's at home, suddenly turn on the light. Surprise! So my point is, the dress is different from who we are. We may put on the dress and behave like the dress as a policeman, but when you come home, you're not the dress. Similarly, we have this dress called the body. Man, woman, student, father, husband, PhD, professor, something, musician, tennis player. But those are all temporary. But inside all of those designations is that living being, who we actually are. And so knowing this is more important than anything else. Not that others you should ignore, that's not the point. Those should be done, but if you don't know this, what's the point in being a human being? So therefore, this type of system of knowledge is considered very, very critical and crucial for living and understanding life. So any questions, thoughts, comments, objections, threats? Today I even have dinner with me. Come on. That's why Vaishali is smiling. Last time she was like, Anything? You all agree? 100%? Alright, please write me a check for $100 each of you, because I've convinced you like anything. Alright, if you have any questions, we'll talk. Otherwise, we can have dinner and see if some questions. Usually what my experience is, dinner is the informal icebreaker where people relax a little bit and ask more questions. So I'm okay with that too. I'll be here for some time. Okay, thank you very much for joining us.
We have a small announcement just for everyone.
Yeah.
Two quick announcements. We'll all be celebrating Diwali this time on the day of Diwali, which is 7th November. Venue is IIT Tower, and the program will start from 7 p.m. So we all welcome you to join us and make the event a great success. Also, if you have any talent, singing, dancing, please come forward and be on the other side of the stage so that you can showcase your talent as well. And we all can get together and celebrate Diwali. Now the second announcement is, we all need to have some fun in Diwali, right? So we have come up with a challenge, cultural challenge, wherein you have to dress up, or it can also be a previous old picture of yours in cultural attire with some interesting theme. Interesting theme is always welcome. So you have to just post it on Facebook or Instagram, like our page, Vedic Vision Society, on wherever you're posting the picture, Facebook or Insta, and tag VBS Diwali 18 with VVS and D capital. And you'll be entering into a draw for winning prizes. So prizes include lunch as well as exciting other prizes which even I don't know.
Surprise.
So yes. So please participate and help us make this event a grand success. That's all.
I'm not from IIT, can I join?
Yeah, you can join.